No one had ever counted. Not the fans who stood outside the hospital gates in Beijing, clutching white lilies through the night. Not the reporters waiting for a glimpse of the actor whose silence had become a national obsession. Not even the nurses who whispered his name as if it might curse them. But this week, a leaked government file shattered the illusion. 17 separate hospital admissions. 2 days. One man. Yu Menglong. It started with an anonymous email, sent at 2:47 a.m. to 3 newsrooms across China. The subject line read only, 17 admissions, look closer. Attached were fragments of medical records under different aliases, Meng Yu, Long YM, Patient C7. But all carried one hidden code in their metadata, the same national ID number. At first, editors laughed it off as another fan conspiracy. But a Phoenix TV journalist cross-checked timestamps with CCTV footage from the emergency ward. The same black van, the same tinted windows, appeared again and again, 17 times between midnight Friday and dawn Sunday. What could possibly send a man in and out of hospitals 17 times in 48 hours without anyone noticing? An audio file soon followed, 3 minutes of trembling whispers between nurses. He was shaking again, eyes open but not awake. The police chief said to write dehydration. 17 times? It's not dehydration. Those 2 words, police chief, ignited the internet. Chief Hao Liang had once been the pride of the Beijing Public Security Bureau. Clean record, calm demeanor, a man known for silence. Then, in 2025, his name abruptly vanished from the Bureau's directory. The leak finally explained why. One internal memo dated February 16 authorized protective medical rotation for a high-profile state witness. The initials matched Yu Menglong. The term protective sounded safe, until psychologists deciphered another phrase buried in the file, psychogenic sequence failure. It meant deliberate mental breakdown through sustained trauma. Therapy twisted into torture. Beijing First Hospital staff remembered every visit. Security teams, never hospital guards, cleared the corridors first. Then Yu Menglong was brought in, limp between 2 men in black coats, sunglasses even at night. His wrists were bandaged. His throat showed faint bruises as if from restraint. One nurse swore she saw a tag under his gown reading property of Unit 12. They were ordered to log each case as routine check. Yet each check came with an injection and a silence order. He kept asking what day it was, an orderly said later. Every time he came back, he thought it was still Friday. By the 16th visit, the hospital director protested. That was when Chief Hao appeared in person, smiling. Mr. Yu is under national protection, he told the staff. Every signature you make tonight saves a life. Maybe yours. They obeyed. Between the 16th and 17th admissions lies a gap, 12 missing hours, no footage, no paper trail. Only one ambulance log remained, patient transferred to auxiliary facility, Zone T3. Zone T3 doesn't exist on any map. Investigators traced it to the decommissioned Tongzhou military clinic, sealed since 2019 after a lab scandal. Satellite images from that weekend showed new tire marks and emergency lights on its rooftop. A whistleblower from the Ministry of Health claimed the clinic had reopened for Condition S, an endurance experiment. Yu Menglong, he said, was chosen for his unusual neurological stability. If true, the actor wasn't receiving treatment, he was the experiment. When news of the leak hit Weibo, the fandom erupted. The hashtag 17 admissions reached hundreds of millions of views before being erased. Accounts disappeared, posts deleted, comments shadow banned. Fans fought back by disguising data in recipe threads and cat videos, hiding coordinates and timestamps inside coded emojis. They called themselves the 17th Ward. One medical student in the group noticed chemical codes on a hospital invoice, identical to a sedative used only in classified state labs. He was being rebooted, she wrote. Every time his memory broke, they sent him back. 17 loops. They wanted him to forget something permanent. Weeks later came the footage, 27 seconds of blurry video showing Yu Menglong on a stretcher, eyes open, breathing shallowly. Off camera, a man says, "Chief, he's conscious again." Then static. The hospital later claimed the server auto-deleted during a system update. Records proved the server hadn't been updated in 5 years. By March, Chief Hao was gone. His apartment empty, his car abandoned by the Jingqing Expressway. In the back seat, police found a torn note. They said 17 would be enough. But he woke up on the 18th. No one saw him again. 3 days later, Yu Menglong was dead. The leaked autopsy was a mosaic of redactions, organs failing in patterns consistent with prolonged trauma. Independent pathologists found tiny symmetrical scars on his temples, the kind electrodes leave behind. None of his hospitals listed such procedures. Someone had been tampering with his memory, again and again, until his body surrendered. A nurse later fled to Hong Kong and published her diary. She wrote that the actor awoke briefly and whispered, "Tell them I signed nothing. I just wanted the truth to stop repeating." Before losing consciousness, he tried to draw something on the bedsheet, a spiral, the same symbol stamped on Chief Howe's missing person report. Official media dismissed every claim as digital hallucination. Yet hospitals repainted their wards, replaced directors, deleted February logs. Fans responded with candlelight vigils disguised as art shows, 17 candles, one for each visit. Foreign journalists covering them were detained, but one streamed a single line before being cut off. If 17 admissions can vanish, how many more never reached the door? 3 months later, a mysterious file appeared on a Taiwanese server. Title: Visit 18. Inside was an encrypted voice clip. When decoded, it revealed a trembling voice identical to Yu Menglong's. "If this plays, it means they started over. Don't trust the chief. The cure was never for me." Analysts couldn't verify the date of recording. Some called it AI mimicry. Others insisted the breathing, the pauses, the faint hum in the background, real. Independent investigator Li Zhenyu compiled every leak into what he called the 17 pattern. His report concluded, each hospitalization corresponded to a deliberate memory reset tied to a suppressed state incident. Chief Howe was both handler and captive of the same operation. When pressed on what the program sought to erase, Li simply replied, "Maybe it wasn't an incident at all. Maybe it was the 17 admissions themselves, a loop they couldn't let him remember." Days later, Li vanished. His office door was sealed with yellow tape marked routine inspection. Today, the 17 hospital buildings still stand. Some renamed, others demolished. Yet staff whisper that if you walk their corridors at 2 a.m., the lights flicker 3 times, the same pattern seen on the old CCTV footage. Online, fans keep his memory alive under the tag #17returns, blending scenes from his dramas with fragments of static, syncing them to his haunting final words. "Don't trust the chief. The cure was never for me." And in every echo, the question that refuses to die lingers. Why would one man need to be hospitalized 17 times in 2 days, unless someone was trying to erase what he'd already seen? Even in silence, the count remains. 17 entries. One truth. And the 18th still waiting to be found. The first time they brought him in, it was raining so hard the hospital windows shook. A paramedic jumped out of a black van, waving a folder thicker than a novel, shouting, "Confidential intake. Code 9. Before the sliding doors even opened. Inside, nurses whispered the name that made the air heavy, Yu Menglong. His pulse was wild, body cold as metal. His eyes flickered open for half a second, then closed again. The nurse closest to him swore she heard him mumble something that sounded like a question. Which day is this one? They didn't understand. Not yet. At 2:17 a.m., the same van came back. He was strapped to the same stretcher, same pale face, same wrist bruises. They said it was dehydration again. By sunrise, he'd been checked in 3 times under 3 different names. By noon the next day, it had happened 9 times. Doctors who objected were replaced mid-shift. One senior nurse, who tried to document the pattern, later found her file access revoked and her ID erased from the hospital's digital system. It was as if she never worked there. When the 10th admission came, she noticed something different. The men in black coats weren't from the hospital or the ambulance service. They carried identification cards embossed with a golden emblem, the same emblem used by the Beijing Public Security Bureau's Internal Affairs Division. They followed the orders of one man, Chief Hao Yang. He arrived that night wearing a plain gray suit, no insignia, just a small silver pin shaped like a spiral. His voice was calm, almost gentle, as he gave instructions to the medical team. He'll wake up confused. Do not answer his questions. Just give him the injection and record the vitals. What's the injection for? Someone asked. Stabilization, Hao said. He's remembering too fast. Those words haunted the nurse long after she was forced to sign the non-disclosure form. Remembering too fast. On the 12th admission, Yu Menglong woke up mid-procedure. A doctor said he tried to grab the syringe from the tray, whispering the same phrase over and over, "Stop looping me. Please. Stop looping me." The doctor froze. "Looping?" he asked. Before you could answer, one of Hao's men pressed something on a device beside the bed, a small black box that emitted a soft click. The actor went instantly still, like someone had unplugged his consciousness. By the 15th admission, the pattern had become mechanical. Arrival. Silence. Injection. Discharge. Return. Only the nurses noticed the inconsistencies. His fingernails grew between visits. His wounds healed, reopened, and healed again. It wasn't treatment. It was repetition. At 4:03 a.m. on the 17th visit, a nurse recorded an unauthorized video. The camera caught Yu lying half awake, whispering into the air. "They keep changing the clocks. I keep waking up the same hour. I can't tell if I'm dying or just replaying." Before she could upload it, the power cut out across the entire ward. Backup generators kicked in, but her phone was gone. So was Yu Menglong. When the lights returned, a man in uniform stood where her phone had been. Chief Hao himself. "No phones in secured areas," he said softly. "You saw nothing. He was never here." The nurse later said his tone wasn't threatening, it was almost sorrowful, as if he, too, was part of the same cycle. Behind the hospital, rain poured harder. Ambulances idled without headlights, engines humming like a chorus of secrets. The staff moved in silence, each pretending not to see what was unfolding before them. By the time the 17th visit ended, dawn had broken. A senior doctor named Dr. Wen refused to sign off on the discharge. 17 times in 2 days? He muttered. "That's not medicine. That's maintenance." Minutes later, his office was sealed. Rumors spread that he'd been transferred to a rural facility for personal recovery. His family never saw him again. One janitor, who claimed to have seen the final transfer, told reporters years later that Yu was awake when they wheeled him out. Eyes open, staring at the ceiling lights passing overhead one by one like countdowns. "He didn't look afraid," the janitor said. "He looked aware. Like he finally remembered something he wasn't supposed to." Hours after that transfer, Hao Liang left the hospital for the last time. Surveillance cameras caught him entering his car, pausing for a long moment before driving off. In that footage, he pressed his fingers to his temple, the same place where the electrodes had left faint scars on Yu Menglong's skin. The car disappeared onto the Jingqing Expressway, and the story should have ended there. But weeks later, another leak surfaced, a confidential internal audio note dated during those 2 days. It featured Hao's voice, tired and unsteady. "He remembers faster each time. I told them 17 resets were enough, but he's starting to recognize me. He asked if I was the one who erased the first memory. I didn't know how to answer." That note ended with a strange, metallic hum, the same sound heard faintly in the leaked hospital video. Investigators later speculated it was the device's frequency sync, the sound that triggered each reset. By the time the final report surfaced, both the chief and the hospital's director were gone. Their offices cleared, their names erased. Only one file remained on the server, patient log 17. The document ends mid-sentence. Subject responsive to auditory stimulus. Memory loop unstable. Next redash. Then nothing. The rest was deleted. And now, the world knows only the count, 17 times in 48 hours. 17 silent entries into the same hospital. 17 blank pages in a story that refuses to stay buried. If you stand outside the old Beijing First Hospital at midnight, the staff say the emergency doors still slide open on their own every few hours, though no ambulance ever arrives. The lights flicker 3 times, the same rhythm that marked every one of Yu Menglong's returns. No one knows whether it's electrical interference or something else. But the timing is always exact. 2:17 a.m. The hour of the first admission. The hour the loop began.